In this video, I'm going to show you the newly buffed Kurumi and see how good she is compared to Guts, because now both of them are going to be like they're gonna be exclusive at the same time in 45 days. So now it's really just a matter of who's the best, who should you get. So in this video, I'm going to show you everything you have to know about Kurumi, or at least the buffed Kurumi. So I'll figure out what she's gotten buffed with, and now I'm also gonna show you the results and compare them to Guts. And the reason why I know so much is because, well, I compare my I test my characters a lot, so I have all the information here. It's in my description, in my spreadsheet. And subscribe if you want to see more showcases and more in-depth showcases just like this, so I can make the most accurate tier lists in the game. So how did Kurumi get buffed? Because before the buff, Guts was better. By quite a lot. So now that Kurumi's gotten buffed, is she better than Guts? And if so, in what way is she better? And is she more worth it to get than Guts? Because before, Guts was more worth it to get. So Kurumi got buffed in 4 different ways. The first ability was previously 9x damage, now it's 10x damage. Basically, it got a 11% buff compared to before. That's not the biggest, but 11% more. If she got 11% more damage in general, that would be pretty good. But it's shot in the first ability. The second ability also got a buff and went from 14x damage to 16x damage, which is also pretty good. Well, it's not a big buff, but it still counts. It's a 14% buff, about 14, a bit more than 14%, but it went like a 14% buff is still pretty good, and this attack is pretty good now. The third ability also got a buff, and this actually got a pretty good buff. It got a whole 17, almost 18% buff, closer to 18% buff on the third ability. So the third ability is really strong now. It went from 17x to 20x, so it's actually a really strong ability. And Kurumi spams a lot of the first, second, and third abilities, so that makes her just very good, and since you can spam them, and they're all stronger, it's pretty good. So she actually got a pretty good buff. She also got a fourth buff, that is her assist. The assist damage is the same, but instead of having a 25% attack bonus on the assist, it's a 35% attack bonus on assist, which is huge. 35% more attack every time you use your assist is actually awesome. So that are the buffs. In the burst test, you try to get as much damage as possible in 10 seconds, and Kurumi is actually not that much worse than Guts in this test. It comes really close, and they both are really good in this test, so it's okay. In the boss rush test, they are really good because they have spam abilities, they have strong abilities, and they can use their abilities fast. They both can just shatter through the bosses, and the first boss just dies instantly, basically. The other bosses, Guts killed a bit faster, especially the third boss, and that makes him slightly better than Kurumi in boss rush, but they are both really good in boss rush, though probably not meta, but you can still use both of them in boss rush really well, but Guts is slightly better. Before the buff, Kurumi was pretty good in a regular dimension. She had pretty strong abilities, she could spam, she had pretty good AoE, and she did have speed boost with the first, fourth, and fifth ability, so she got 120 in a regular dimension. Now, with the buff, Kurumi actually speeds through the dimension basically just as she did before, because the first ability has a slight speed boost, the fourth ability is really good, you can move around with it, you get faster speed, and the fifth ability makes you able to spam the fourth and first abilities alongside with second and third abilities, and just get a permanent speed boost for, well, temporary speed boost for 30 seconds, but while the awakening move is active. So you have a lot of speed boosts, and since the damage is buffed, you basically one-shot everything. So she's actually better now than before in dimensions, and she's better than Guts. Before the buff for Kurumi, she did pretty well in the speedrun test, and in general, she did a great job. 127, which is better than Guts. And in the buffed state, Kurumi didn't perform that much better because, well, the damage doesn't help. Actually, I think I just played better and I didn't really perform better because of the buff, because here in speedrun test you one-shot everything anyway, so here it was purely just how good you can speedrun the dimension with the moves. And I played a bit better this time, so really, in the speedrun test, just speedrunning, the buff does not matter that much, but in regular dimension test, she was better. But in speedrun test, you just try to get through the dimension as fast as possible, but that still is better than Guts. Even though she might not be better now than she was before, she's still better than Guts in it. Before the buff, in the one card test, where I can only use one card in the dimension, so basically to simulate how it is for newer players that actually struggle to kill enemies, Kurumi struggled to just kill the enemies with the first, second, and third abilities. So now with the buff, she basically two-shots every single enemy, and this actually helps her a lot, and she improves a bit from her regular time, and this time she's actually better than Guts just because of it. Now before the buff and just a regular raid with the meta gear, Kurumi was still pretty good. She had a lot of damage, and she could do a lot of things with just how good she was. Keep in mind this was because Kurumi has a 50% damage multiplier in this raid right now. You need to divide the damage by 1.5. But she was really good. And now with the buff, we can see how much of the damage difference helps her. Because the thing is, she got a buff on her first, second, and third abilities all above 10%, between 10% and 20% buff. But it doesn't make sense if it's a 10% buff in general, right? Because it's only on a few moves, and still the fifth ability and the fourth ability didn't change and everything like that. Which makes sense, because she only got a 9% buff, but and it is worse than Guts here, so Guts is better with meta gear. Now, with the best gear in the game, just using meta stuff, except for a pet, so I didn't have a pet equipped. I tried to see just how good they are without a pet. Kurumi did very well in this test. Even though you don't have a pet, she can spam so much with her fifth ability, and the abilities are so good, so she got a lot of damage here. And using the same setup but just resetting so I can use Guts as the main character, still 1 minute, Guts did worse than Kurumi. So the fact is that Guts is better than Kurumi if you have a good pet, but Kurumi is better than Guts if you don't have a good pet, which 99% of people don't have a good pet. So the newly buffed Kurumi is actually really good. Now I haven't tried Guts with bad gear or good gear because I don't want to get off the Celestial, but Kurumi was better than Guts with no pets, so she's probably going to be better than Guts in bad gear, but not better than Guts in good gear. And Kurumi is still really good in best gear, like she is probably top 5, I'm not sure about the other gacha characters, in raids. So she's really good. Speedrunning, she's better than Guts. Regular dimensions, she's better than Guts. And with one card, she was actually better than Guts now because her damage actually makes up for it. Burst test and boss rush, and as an assist. Actually, no, I didn't change this, but Kurumi is actually better than Guts now. So Kurumi is, in general, very good, but Guts is more meta than Kurumi. But if you don't have a good pets, and if you don't have the best stuff, then Kurumi is the better character over Guts. And she is better as an assist, and she's better in dimensions. But with the damage tests, if you have the best gear in the game, then Guts is going to be better with the best gear and boss rush and raids and everything like that. So in general, Guts is more meta, but Kurumi is an overall character that's really good, and especially if you have if you don't have good gear. So most of you guys are gonna see that Kurumi is better than Guts, but actually Guts is better than Kurumi. In conclusion, Guts is the best raid character and the meta, and Guts is who we use, the top raid damage leaderboard players, we use Guts. Kurumi, however, is the better assist, and she's really good overall. She's good in dimensions, she's good in raid, she's good at everything. She's also the meta assist for time challenge, and that's how the unknown got almost 1500 now. And also, she's better than Guts if you don't have the good gear. So for most of you guys, Kurumi is actually better than Guts. And all of these tests, Kurumi was not that much worse than Guts, and you might get one less reward than Guts if you use Kurumi, but everything else, she's basically better. And all of these tests were with Claymore instead of Timekeeper. So if you have Timekeeper, Kurumi's gonna get buffed. If you have Guts, if you have a Claymore, Guts is going to be buffed. So if you have a Timekeeper and you don't have that good stuff otherwise, Kermie is going to be better. And in general, Kermie is really, really good. But I would get Guts because he is the late game meta, and if you don't have Guts, you will never be on the raid damage leaderboard unless a new character that's better than Guts release. Otherwise, Kermie is probably the better overall character, especially if you are worse and don't have like Garo pet or a good pet or like good gear, but Guts is probably the one you should go for in general. But yeah, Kermie is really good. If you want to get Kermie anyway, get her, because she's not bad at all. She's actually really, really good. Like not that much worse in raids than Guts, and better in dimensions, better as an assist. She's really, really good. She's fun to play. If you want to get Kermie, get her. Doesn't matter. But if you want to get meta stuff, then get Guts. That's it for this video though. I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you in the next one.
Thank you.